Ladies and gentlemen, episode number 2 of the Museum of Christian Art. And I'm sure that you find something a little different from what you saw in last week's episode. The dresses are a little different, and I have grown my hair. Do you know why? Because when we came here the last time, that was a year back, they had only finished the lower part. So after 1 year, we have come back here to bring to you something really exciting, because now we are going to elevate ourselves, or we are going to go up to the mezzanine. And with us, we have got the curator, Miss Natasha Fernandez. So Natasha bhai, let's go on our journey, which we had stopped some time back. Natasha bhai, there is one thing that I wanted to ask you. As you climb on top, there is a granite window-like structure with lot of squares and some things written in this. What is this?
So this is, these are niches which have the remains, like relics of the sister superiors who originally lived here in the past. So when
that is of the Santa Monica
of
Nunnery.
the Santa Monica Nunnery, right, from the 17th century.
Okay, so because we can see some dates of 1661 and 1688, we find a lot of dates. So ladies and gentlemen, as you come over here, you have an experience of going back to the 16th and the 17th century, because this beautiful nunnery, this huge nunnery, the first nunnery and the largest nunnery in Asia, that is the Santa Monica Nunnery, they are headed by a Mother Superior. So here, as you go on top, you find the niches where their relics have been maintained. For you, ladies and gentlemen, I would use the word crypts for the relics. So for me, this is the crypt. Natasha bhai, now that we have come to the mezzanine, I see these artifacts that I have been saying. What do you call this gallery?
So here upstairs on the mezzanine, we have paintings on one side, on the dry wall, and on this side we have wooden sculptures, and when we go around, you will have ivory sculptures. We've put them we've arranged them as per the centuries, so you'll see the evolution of the art as you're walking through. So the earliest, that is the late 16th, 17th century, and as you reach the end, you will see that the art of the 19th century or early 20th century.
So all of them have been carved by local artisans?
Yes, in most cases we know that they've been carved by local artists in Goa. There might be some exceptions, but by and large they have been worked on in Goa. They might have been given, say, prints or to copy from, and then they would incorporate what they are seeing, and also subtly they would incorporate something of their own. They would add their own touch to it, which will be a floral element, a vegetal element, very, very subtly, which is the Indian that is highlighted in the Christian art.
In the Christian art. Natasha bhai, I have just one more question for you for this gallery. Now when I see such wonderful pieces and paintings, are they all belonging to the church, or have people, individuals donated them to you?
So many of these art objects have come from churches. So they've been given to us from various churches across Goa. But also we have individuals who have given art objects from their family altars, so from their homes to the museum. They've donated these objects.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I am walking over here from century to century to century and coming towards modernity, I can see amazing art by the people from here. And I'm sure there are many things in your own houses related to the church or to any religious houses or anything that is important to Goa. Possibly you may not know the value of it. But if you don't want it or it is creating a problem for you in your interior decor, please donate these things to the Museum of Christian Art because they will display it with your name on that.
The name of the donor or the church from where we have the provenance is put into the label.
Put into the label. Let's go to the next gallery now. As we were walking down from one gallery to another, here we saw a big gateway that connects to the Church of Santa Monica. But what caught our eye is there were some beautiful paintings on the wall, which I think the conservators have very beautifully preserved. What are these paintings?
So they are murals, and at every entry point in the convent, you would find such beautiful murals depicting some Christian theme or the other. And in this case, on the inner part of the arch, there is some images of the infant Jesus or the Jesus as he's growing up with his parents and later on in his life. And on the outer arch, you will find some floral elements. Now, this part, the floral elements, were many years ago were hidden under layers of lime wash. And it was during our one of our painting. When we were painting the building, that we had to scrape off the old paint off, and that's when we started discovering these murals, which when the experts, conservators were available and were able to travel to India, and along with the teams from Goa, they conserved these murals.
Let's go to the next gallery. So the next gallery that we went to is a little mixed gallery, and that is, I see a palanquin here, which is a mode of transport. What really catches your eye as you come over here, and what Natasha Bhai is going to tell you about, is ivory. Banned item to be taken across borders, but at one time they brought it here and they created masterpieces.
So we have many ivory sculptures in our churches, in our family altars, and of course you see a growing number of ivory sculptures in the museum, small ones, so for sure they were made for family altars. And where did the ivory come from to make these ivory sculptures? They many a times must have come from the Portuguese colonies in Africa, so they got the ivories from there and then were carved by our local artists here, and whatever remained from carving of the ivory sculptures were then used to maybe in those banners and other textiles that we have seen down for the faces and hands. And even in some cases, wooden sculptures, they would have hands and faces of the images made in ivory. So ivory was not entirely an ivory sculpture many a times, but many a times it was used along with another material like the wooden sculptures or textiles.
Okay, so basically it was only the residue of the art pieces, the major art pieces that remained, that were used in the
that's what we
embroidery.
think. That's
Okay,
what we
okay.
think.
And
because most of it was used for the main sculpture,
yes,
and then whatever would remain, which could be used for another object, was used.
And can I safely say that this art is unique to Goa?
The one that you saw in the processional banner?
Yes.
We have not found it anywhere else. So the use of ivory on textiles, it's there, like maybe a button on a shirt, but we have not seen faces and hands of images carved or sewed onto textiles. We have not come across. There might be, but we have not come across.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, that huge tusk of an elephant, you can see it over here. You can also see it in another museum in Goa, a very, very unique museum, and the only of its kind in the whole of India, that is there in Panjim, that is the Customs and Indirect Taxes Museum. Is this also in ivory?
This is not in ivory, this is in marble, and this is a depiction of the Holy Trinity, a very rare and unique depiction of where you see God the Father, and the depiction is like a Pietà style, where you see Jesus resting on his lap. So you see God the Father, you see God the Son, that's Jesus, and you see the Holy Spirit in the form of a bird. And you also have angels surrounding this whole marble relief work, and they are holding the symbols of the Passion of Christ. So they are holding the nails, they're holding the cross, and the pillar on which Jesus was scorched before he was crucified.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this piece is something that will hold you in awe. And Natasha Bhai, is this big image here fully of ivory?
Yes, this particular sculpture of the infant Jesus, Savior of the world, is entirely in ivory. Maybe different parts, but all in ivory.
Everything in ivory.
Everything in ivory.
Ladies and gentlemen, you should come here not only to see the ivory part of it, but if I see this small little idol over here, you can literally see the folds and the designs that are there on the sari over there. Again, Indo-Portuguese. So, I leave you to see this small pieces, and then we will go up, we will rise up. So from the ground floor we went to the mezzanine, and from the mezzanine we have come here to something what they call as the viewing gallery, viewing platform. And from here you can get an amazing view of not only the ground floor and the mezzanine galleries or sections as they may call it, but also the roof that has been renovated. But ladies and gentlemen, there is something very, very important that is attached to this museum over here, and that is the Church of Santa Monica. So Natasha Bhai has told me, he said, I would like to show you something over there, and then after you see this view, let us go and see the Church of Santa Monica. Also, when we came to this viewing platform, we saw, or we rather noticed something that you find in a lot of temples, what we call as the Kavi art. And here they say it is the reverse format called as the graffito, and this is what we saw on the wall over there. And I'm sure these two they must have found when they were scraping, am I right?
Yes, this too we found when we were scraping very recent, when the project was on, and we found it in a few places on this level. We didn't find more than what we found now, but we decided to retain what we found.
So there you are. Again, a reminder, don't scratch your walls. Just come here and see them. So ladies and gentlemen, as we descend to Mother Earth from a beautiful heaven of display of galleries, I must tell you one thing. When you come over here, carry your mobile, because you can take memories. If you would like better photography than that, remember one thing, that there is a rule in all ASI as well as other museum, you are not allowed to use a tripod. So don't get a tripod. Secondly, if you want to use your camera, then there is a nominal charge for that. You can understand why that is. So ladies and gentlemen, don't you ever forget to take back memories. Well, Natasha, tell me, I have seen a lot of things over here. They are of different types. Do you have sections, galleries? You have them here?
Yes, we have in this upgraded museum, we have separated the objects based on their typology. So we have paintings, we have wooden sculptures, we have ivories which are grouped together. Then we have a section dedicated to textiles.
Okay.
Okay, and also we have a section dedicated to precious metals. So that includes the liturgical vessels that were used in the past, and many other images and things that were used in the past made with precious metals.
Okay. So you said about textiles. What is so special about textiles?
So the textiles that you see in the museum are the ones that were used in the past in the church, which would have been vestments, processional banners that were used during processions, and the processional banners that we have in the museum collection, like you can see here, are very unique to Goa, because on these banners, besides the embroidery that has been done, there's also ivory work on the textile. So the faces of the saints or the images of Jesus or Mary, the faces and the hands are made in ivory, and then they are sewed onto the textile.
Okay, so this could be the pieces of ivory that remained after making things like this.
Yes, definitely. It could be smaller parts which were not used for the sculptures,
Okay.
that were then utilized for these banners.
Okay. And you said something about processional banner?
No, this is the processional
This is the
banner,
processional.
and it can be, it has a design on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So this side, in this particular case, you have Saint Joseph and baby Jesus, and on the other side, you have the image of the Virgin Mary. Now, you would ask me, how does a viewer in the museum see this? Can see this side but can't see the other side. So we've displayed it in a particular way where you can, when you come in, you can also see the other side of the banner.
That's very nice. And last in the episode that has been relayed last week, you were mentioning about a Zardosi.
Yes.
So is this the Zardosi?
So elements in of design and the embroidery motifs done with gold thread. So here you'll find some elements of Zardozi. In the other textiles that we'll see further on, also you'll see elements of Zardozi. in the textiles.
In the textiles. So let's see them. Are these the ones that you said about the golden thread?
Yes, so these are all embroidered in gold thread and other threads as well, and have very Indian motifs in them, floral elements, fruit like the pineapple as well on the vestments.
That's very nice. What you see here is a box, a wooden box. I would rather call it a trunk. Now, if you look at it, it has got a lot of things on this. Please remember when the Portuguese first came here, when the evangelists first came over here, there were no churches built in many of the places. So, what the priest would do, or the person from that particular order would do, is he would get one of the local manual laborers, and that man would carry this box on his head to wherever he was going. Like if you go to Diwar, there are a lot of crosses with platforms. Now, if you see here, he would keep that trunk over there and he would open it out, and this would have all the other accessories that he required to say Mass or the religious service. And this box behind, as you can see as it is opened out, it acted like an altar. Once it was over, they would clean up the things, pack it up properly, put it back in this trunk, put it on the head of that manual labor, and come back to wherever they had left from. So you can see this is a portable altar, and you can see this in the Museum of Christian Art. As history tells us, that the first printing press was started here in Goa. I would not say Asia, because there are quite a lot of other places where there are prints available. But the first official printing press started in Goa in the year 1556 AD. And it is said that it was not meant for Goa. It was actually brought to be taken to Ethiopia. But there was a war going on there. So the ship that was carrying that carried it down to Goa. And here, those people were convinced. He says, why do you want to send it there? Keep it over here. And the history of printing started here in 1556. Now you can see some books. I'm not saying that they are the first prints from that particular thing, but as it developed, as it evolved, you can see some amazing books that have been printed here in Goa. Please remember the date, it's 1556. You have got over here, plus earlier to that, they always wrote. And look at the finesse of the handwriting, like we have got here the Krista Purana, which is handwritten. Today with these mobiles, we have forgotten the art of writing. But look at writing as an art. So ladies and gentlemen, the print for you. So ladies and gentlemen, behind me is the Museum of Christian Art. Here we have come into a church that is attached to the nunnery or the convent of Santa Monica. And let me tell you one thing. Here, when you come, please take time to watch, observe and see certain things what Natasha Bai is going to tell us. Natasha Bai, we find a fantastic altar over here. And there are many icons, of different saints. Can you tell us something a little bit about this?
So this is the main altar of the church, and right in the lowermost section of the altar, you'll find in the central panel, you'll find Saint Augustine, and then on the sides you'll find Saint Ambrose and Saint Thomas Villanova, and above that you'll find in the central niche Saint Monica and compatriots Saint Rita and Saint Clara. And right at the top you have the panel with Christ being crucified and surrounded by the Virgin Mary and Saint John the Evangelist. And in the other two niches on either side you'll find Saint Peter on one side and Saint Paul on the other. The Museum of Christian Art carried out the conservation and restoration of this church, which is a state protected monument, and for which we got the funding from the State Department of Archaeology towards the conservation and restoration of the church. And the teams that were involved were experts who were called in from Portugal, but there were teams from Goa also who worked together on this project to conserve the space, the altars, the images, the paintings, everything that you see here.
And what about the azulejos?
The azulejos that you find here are from the 17th century. They have beautiful floral motifs as well as fruits like the grapes and the pomegranate. Now, when we say azulejos, we think that they came from Portugal, but we are not really sure because there are some documents that state the provenance of these azulejos that they've come from Bijapur.
And we see two altars in the front. Whom are they dedicated to?
So one altar is dedicated to the Virgin Mary, the Immaculate Conception. On the other side, you have the altar dedicated to the Infant Jesus.
Every church that I have gone to, and many of the chapels, old chapels were there, I found one thing that always keeps me fascinated, and that is the pulpit. Now, the pulpit is a box-like structure that is on the wall, where the priest is supposed to. But before that, when we came here, we saw something like this. Let's find out from Natasha Bai whether the priest would stand like this or there is some other story to this.
So yes, it is the pulpit like you said, and this is the original pulpit of this church, and it is on a stone pedestal and it has murals all around. But when we were doing the restoration of this church, this was not the pulpit that was there. There was a wooden pulpit. And when we started taking out the wooden pulpit for the restoration, we discovered this pulpit hidden under the wooden pulpit. So this must have been the original of the 17th century, and then the wooden pulpit must have been put up in the 18th century. The wooden pulpit is treated, conserved, but not yet assembled again.
And do you know, the priest would literally walk through the wall, so thick walls, he would walk through to come up over there. There is a cross over here. Amazing story, lovely legend to be heard from the words of Natasha Bai. Just opposite the pulpit, we saw something very, very beautiful. Now, there are two parts. There is a crucifix on top and there is a crucifix down. It's very rare that you see two crucifixes like this. You see one. But then, somewhere I had read about the whipping cross. Could this be the one? Let's find out with Natasha Bai.
So Sanjeev, the story goes that in 1636, in the month of February, while the nuns from the cloistered convent were praying here, they saw the image of the Christ opened its eyes, and through the wound marks, that's where the nails would have been pierced, through the wound marks blood was seen flowing. So it was documented. This happened on two occasions in 1636, and from that day it is believed to be a miraculous image of Christ, so the miraculous cross, and today it is popularly called the weeping cross.
Was it always here, or it was brought here from somewhere else? Like we have got the miraculous cross in Sir Cathedral, it was brought from somewhere else. So this was here?
This was within the convent. The occurrence, the miracle happened within the convent space. So it didn't come from somewhere else.
Okay. So let's go and see just one more thing over here now. Come on. In the Museum of Christian Art, at one corner, we saw that there was an arch which was cut out into the wall, and there was a wooden plank with ... And when we came on the other side, we found like this. We knew it was a confessional, but let me confess, I am not very confident of that. So let me ask with Natasha Bai.
So you're right, it is a confessional because this was a cloistered space, and anyways when you confess, the priest is on one side and the person who's confessing is on the other side. In this case, the nuns, because they would use that space and not come into the church space, they would be confessing on the other side, which is today the Museum of Christian Art. So that's where you saw the niche, and this side is for the priest to listen into the confession.
Okay. You have any confessions to make? Come here. Come here to the Museum of Christian Art, and that's where you can experience this confessional and this confessional. The weather is killing, and we have just finished the tour of Museum of Christian Art in Old Goa. Ladies and gentlemen, My Goem gets you all the various aspects that are there in Goa, made by Goans of the past, meant for Goans today, to be preserved by Goans. Our motto is preserve, protect and promote. And if you don't come and visit these places, in Goa we have got over 15 museums, and one of the best museums that we have got and still getting better is the Museum of Christian Art. This is walking distance when you come into Old Goa on the Holy Hill, opposite the St. Augustine's Tower. And when you come here, you can see this museum, you can see the ruins of the Augustinian convent, you can see the church of Santa Monica, and also you can see the church of Our Lady of Rosary, which was ordered to be built by Alphonse d'Albuquerque when his fleet won over here. He was standing on that hill and watching, but that church was built much later in 1544. So these are the things that are there in Goa. So I want you to please write to us on the email that you see over here. We love to hear from you. We love to get suggestions from you. Bouquets and brickbats. Choice is yours. Please tell us where we are going wrong or what you would like us to bring to you. So with that, let me say bye and Deobare Guru. Moga Suni.